I'm Janine Schaults from FM News 101.1. We're sitting here with Jeremy Kyle, Fox's newest talk show host, but not new to the talk show host scene.
No.
You are quite the big star in England.
Well, I don't know about that, but 7 years, Janine, and I think almost 1,500 shows. And yeah, it's an exciting time because you can do something like that for as long as we have and have the number one show. And then you come to America where, of course, this genre was created. And that, for me, was always the challenge, to come here and do it where my hero Phil Donahue started, and I feel like the new boy at school. It's weird. It's good. It's exciting, but it's like you start at the bottom of the class, right?
And I guess why? I mean, you know what I mean. If you work that hard to reach the pinnacle, enjoy the.
I've loved the
fat.
Yeah, absolutely. And England was great, but it was always a challenge and a desire to do it here. And coming over here is totally different. It's such a big country, and it start from scratch and everything. So, yeah, loving it.
And I guess and not only you're starting from scratch. I mean, you're coming in. And not only the history of the medium here in America, but just the fact that, even just this year alone, Oprah's gone, Anderson Cooper's in, Carney Wilson's going to have a talk show.
I think
anyone's
there's about
trying to
4 million of them. And people keep asking me when we're doing these interviews, what do you think of this person? What do you think of that person? I've always said the same, year in, year out in England. People do their job. People will watch the shows. They will make their own mind up. It's not for, I don't think, presenters to diss other presenters or diss other shows or promote their own show. You can talk about what you're trying to do, but at the end of the day, you have to believe that people are intelligent enough to decide what they want to watch. We've got a great track record in England. It counts for nothing, absolutely nothing.
But I guess, are you worried about breaking into America, especially with all of the competition?
No, because I believe in the product, and I do believe it's different, and I believe that so much of what I've seen both in England and here is different to what I perceive it should be. And yes, it's a talk show, and yes, it's conflict resolution, and we deal with family issues and feuds and addictions, and we deal with relationship breakdowns, but it's not a circus. It isn't just somebody standing back and watching it happen and people jumping up and down. I get in amongst them and I roll my sleeves up and I strip these people down, because at the end of the day we get a certain amount of time to get to the root cause, get to the issues, as you say. And then we have this dedicated group support services team, which is qualified, psychotherapists and psychologists, headed by Dr. Janet Taylor, who most people will know, and Ken Seeley, an American interventionist who's well known. And we actually say to everybody, look, this isn't some counsellor sat in a green room paying lip service to a TV regulation. This is a genuine attempt to say, we will do our best to change your lives. We'll offer rehab, detox, anything. We've already sent people for rehabs, 30-day rehabs, and the cynics will say, what are you trying to do, change people's lives? I say, no, we're going to give them the tools by which they can make it better. So it's a journey, the Kyle Show. It is a journey from beginning to end, and it's all and everything. Sometimes very angry, sometimes very emotional. It's a journey, and it's raw, and it's real life, and it's not staged.
And I think your reputation in England, at least, is kind of as this person who's really no holds barred. You're going to tell like it is, and you're not going to
I don't see the point not to be, do you? Here's the thing. You get 15 or 20 minutes, and some people are, of course, very, very open and very honest, but some people need stripping down. And if the point of coming on a show like that is to get to the root cause of why they're there, then why wouldn't you say the truth? People in the early days in England would go, what right do you have to say that? And I'd say, because people ask me. I'd be pretty naive to think that everybody would agree. A lot of them don't. But if you ask me an opinion, I'll give it to you.
Do you think... how do you think American audiences will take to your personality as opposed to?
I don't know. You can look at. So many people have said to me in these interviews. So you look at Cal and Craig Ferguson and Gordon Ramsay and Anne Robinson, and they love the direct English. And there are others who say, the accent's great. And there are people who go, what are you doing in our country? So, people, I hope. I always say that if you take an individual and you stand in front of that person, and they would spend a lifetime disagreeing absolutely with what you're saying. If they know you're being honest, you're saying it from the heart, you're not saying it to get a reaction or a rating or because somebody's told you to, because it's my show and I've done it a long time, then people will give you the benefit of the doubt. And, all you can do is do what you do and hope people make the choice.
And I guess you mentioned earlier that one of your heroes was Phil Donahue, and I guess who else, or I guess how did he influence you, and also who else?
Because he did it properly. I'm not and never will be somebody who's going to sit here and talk specifically about other shows. But I said to you already, when somebody gets a DNA result, I'm not interested in two adults who laid down and made a baby jumping up and down, whooping and hollering. I'm interested in a child and a plan being sought so that that child can see both parents. That is massively, massively important. That's what the aftercare service does. That's what we do so much of. Dealing, family is hugely important to me. I have 4 kids, and that core value runs through everything that I do, because I think if you create a life, you have a moral, ethical, and, well, whatever responsibility to do your best by that child. And I that's what I did in England. I always brought it back to that, However difficult it is, there is a way out if you want to make it. There is a way of making things better. Let's see if we can find it. It doesn't always work. The reality is sometimes you have to say, do you know what, there's too much water under the bridge and you're gone. But at least morally, as a father of 4, if I give it a go, I feel better about it.
And I guess, where does this desire to help people
I started on radio, which is always was my first love, because I didn't have to wear a suit and be covered in makeup. It's probably true. And we did late night radio for 12, 15 years in England. I had a massive show, and it was midnight caller, but English, I suppose you'd say. And we did anything and everything. It was never planned. It was never scripted. Anybody could ring about anything. And so I think we worked it out once that we did over 50,000 calls. And I always wondered whether that intimacy, whether that directness, whether you could get that on honesty and replicate it on television. And we luckily got given the chance in England, and we did it. But who knows here? But for me, at 46, to actually be here in America doing it is fantastic and big. Really is.
And I guess, you've mentioned 50,000 calls and 1,500 shows, and I'm sure it's hard to pinpoint, but has there been one or two, major successes?
I'm not being awkward, because I would be exactly like you, and I would ask that question. I can't and won't answer that question for one simple reason, because I genuinely believe that whoever comes on in England or America, whatever their story, whatever their problem, deserves respect. And I think it's bad to sit here and say, oh, that was the best person. These are people's lives. It is their lives. We are doing television. We mustn't forget about that, but there's a responsibility. So look, we're filming in New York. We've been filming for 2 months. I can tell you that last Friday, without giving anything away, 2 of the 4 shows I recorded were probably in the top 5 that we've ever done, and those will show later in the season. But it's very difficult to answer that, because as a host, I do feel a responsibility. I do. It shouldn't just be exploitative fodder. It should be done correctly.
And I guess you mentioned last night.
That was interesting. Welcome to Chicago.
Tell us about that.
Let's go to Chicago. Let's do some Fox television. Let's do some radio. That'll be great. So with Jim, Mr. Publicity, and my wife, bless her, we're approaching Chicago O'Hare. I thought we were early. This is looking very good. And when a plane goes down, just as you're about to hit the runway, it's about 200 feet to go, and suddenly the nose went up and the back went back. And off we took again, to which, this is brilliant, the American captain said, ladies and gentlemen, obviously not in an English accent, we have a slight issue in the cockpit. And the bloke behind me, guy, whatever, said, do you think he spilt his coffee on his trousers? Anyway, we seemed to head out of...
you could land a plane if you
I'm
spilled
thinking,
coffee on your trousers.
We then head out of Chicago and quite possibly into Indiana, because we're now over fields, and it transpires they were getting rid of all the fuel, because he then announced that the landing gear wasn't working, which of course immediately sends you into slight panic. The landing gear's not working, what are we going to do? And we circled, and then we came back in, and he said, and by the way, as we land, please don't panic by the fact that there'll be emergency services and flashing lights and everything. I thought, I haven't got it yet. And we hit this runway with a lot of scratching and banging, and stopped bang in the middle of the runway, and all these fire engines. It looked like the army had arrived, to be honest. So that was spooky. And my wife got freaked out, and one woman had a panic attack and threw up all over the gentleman next to her. And then we got to the hotel, I won't mention it, the Trump, and for some completely unknown reason, they don't serve food after 9:30 at night. So it was great. And then I got up at 6 o'clock this morning to do Fox breakfast. So yes, I've had a very nice time in Chicago.
Well, it's good to know that,
I love the city there.
The show has been on for 4 days, and it could have ended
I know.
there.
Yeah, I said to Jim, you're doing a really good job with this publicity. You could have killed the host on a flight to Chicago. Brilliant. But Chicago, I've been here before, and it's fantastic. I actually, back in England where my girls go to school, they have a couple of friends, and their father and mother came over from Chicago a couple of years ago, and they talk about it in glowing terms. I've been here a couple of times, but it's beautiful. Totally different pace to New York. It seems to me to be more family orientated, and just lovely. I sat for an hour waiting for the bridge to go up earlier.
We've got time on our hands.
That's cool. No, but that's what I like, because London, no time. New York, no time. It just seems a bit more chill.
And I guess, what are you doing? How are you balancing? Is your family still in England? And,
yeah,
and you're here?
I said the other day on Wendy Williams, I said, my wife's over for the launch and my kids are back in London. Not on their own, with their nanny. Can I just correct that? They were here all... Yeah, my God. They were here all summer for two months, which was fantastic. Have you been to New York for 2 months?
I've never been to New York.
We had an earthquake, a hurricane, and what was the other thing? Heat wave, all in the space of 7 weeks. It was
So
shocking.
really,
But they've gone back. They're at school.
Your
Carlos has come
American
out.
experience has gone gangbusters so far.
It's just amazing, yeah. Earthquake, heat wave, hurricane, nearly died in a plane crash. Brilliant. But no, I made all of the shows for the UK because I'm on in both countries every day. So I made the English shows between January and June, 250 of them. And I'm out here now until December making 150. So we'll make 400. And then I think I've got 10 days over Christmas and then back into the English thing.
I think you and Ryan Seacrest should have lunch.
I know Ryan Seacrest.
Because you're
Probably
both working just as hard.
And we're about to launch a brand new primetime quiz show in England as well in about 3 weeks' time, so which we hope to bring to America. So no, look, it is busy, but they're halcyon days, and for me, just as a talk show host, I go back to what I said at the beginning. It's always been a dream, and whatever happens, I can look myself in the mirror and tell my grandkids I came to America, and I love it. And frankly, I wouldn't go back if it was down to me.
Well, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
For being with us.
In the Love Lounge.
Yes.
Janine and Jeremy in the Love Lounge.
Well, we're here with Jeremy Kyle on FM News 101.1. You can catch his show on Fox at 1 p.m. every weekday. Tune in.
Please watch, because if I don't get an audience, I'll get fired, and then my kids won't get any Christmas presents, and it'll be on your conscience. Okay.